Welcome to Bali, Island of the Gods. In Kubu, at the footsteps of Mount Agung, lies the relaxed Bali Resort. It was our home for 2 weeks. The resort consists of a hotel complex and 6 villas with private pools. This one is ours. Surrounded by a secluded garden, the villas provide a lot of privacy. The garden and pool are very well maintained. 2 cozy cabanas gave us shelter. Every villa has 2 separate bedrooms and an adjoining living room with a little kitchen. The TV, air conditioning, and free drinking water added to our comfort. The bedrooms feature a semi-open bathroom with a rain shower, a huge luggage room, and an extra day bed. A nice restaurant facing the seafront offers very good food for a reasonable price. Right in front of the hotel, we found a beautiful coral reef. The hotel's dive center offers everything you need. On our first dive, we met this little guy, a Peacock Mantis shrimp. It can use its armored claws to strike its prey at 83 kilometers per hour and deliver blows with the impact of a bullet. Mantis shrimps have a very complex visual system. With up to 12 photoreceptors, they can see UV, visible, and polarized light, and move each eye independently. Amazing! We did a lot of dives in Tulamben, only a short drive from our hotel in Kubu. The dive center provided us with private guides, Teja and Koman. They showed us the beautiful critters at Tulamben. I'll start with showing you some species of nudibranchs. They are noted for their extraordinary colors and striking forms. Currently, about 3,000 species of nudibranch are known. They breathe through a naked gill shaped into the bronchial plumes in a rosette on their backs. This nudie is very tiny. With only 2 millimeters in size, it's hard to spot and even harder to photograph. Also very tiny is this next species. It's called Shaun the sheep. Obvious, isn't it? This little sea slug lives and feeds on green algae leaves. These are definitely super macro subjects. It took me a while to get a decent picture. At the end of our dive, we found this juvenile ribbon eel. While growing up, The color of the males changes from black to blue. You will see one later on. Adult males can reach up to almost 1 meter. The ghost pipefish got their name probably because they suddenly appear, stay for a few days, and then disappear like a ghost. In the current, they move perfectly along with the moving arms of the feather star, so that they are as good as invisible. This hairy frogfish is only the size of a rice corn. The next one is also a baby, and hairy as well. We found a whole kindergarten of frogfish, yellow, white, orange, and even pieces of art like the painted frogfish. Frogfish or anglerfish typically move slowly, lying in wait for prey, and then striking extremely rapidly, sucking in their victim. We found another baby half the size of my fingernail, a scorpionfish. Their spines are venomous, but these babies are far from dangerous, just cute. Because their arms are thickly covered with fine hairs, this spider or decorator crab is called Orangutan Crab. As a decorator crab, it is often laden with small bits of debris for further camouflage. decorator crabs use materials from their environment to hide from predators. They decorate themselves by sticking plants to their bodies as camouflage. Pistol shrimps are great diggers but are almost blind. That's why they live in a symbiotic relationship with gobies. If the goby darts inside the burrow, the shrimp is warned and follows the goby. The candy crab is found on coral reefs mimicking the soft coral it sits on, sometimes attaching the coral polyps to its carapace for further camouflage. The boxer crab is also known as cheerleader or pom-pom crab, has 2 stinging anemones in its claws as a protection against enemies. The anemone benefits from the fast movement and gets more nutrition, another symbiotic agreement. In the early morning, we went down to the wreck of USS Liberty. In 1942, the ship was hit by a Japanese torpedo, then was beached near Tulamben. In 1963, the eruption of Mount Anguin caused the vessel to slip off the beach. It now lies on a sand slope in 9 to 30 meters of water. The wreck is about 130 meters long and one of the most famous dive sites off Bali. Here you see a giant moray eel hunt together with a large grouper. Researchers reckon that both fish are 5 times more successful at catching prey together than separately. The electric clam, or disco clam, has earned its nickname because of its highly reflective tissue that has flashing lights like a disco ball. On top of the wreck, sand eels performed their dance while we could identify another hunting group. This blue-spotted ray is searching for food, followed by a barracuda. The next wreck rests right in front of our hotel. The Dutch-built cargo ship was sunk in 2012. It is lying between 16 and 39 meters. Inside the cargo bay, we found a jeep. Time for a ride? The next day, it was time for more nudibranches. The Hypsilodoris confetti is a beauty. It is having a good meal. Every diver is to see a pygmy seahorse. They live on Gorgongian corals and match their color and appearance. Because they are really tiny, we wouldn't have found one without our guide. We also found a lot of shrimps. With only 2 millimeters of size, the skeleton shrimp is of spooky beauty. We found bubble coral shrimps, banded shrimps, and red line cleaner shrimps. They give you a nice manicure. The most beautiful of them all is the camel shrimp, with its red and white stripes. The eyes are stunning. This one is called a tiger shrimp and belongs to the same family as the next species, the Harlequin Shrimps. They feed exclusively on starfish. With about 3 millimeters in size, this hairy shrimp could be easily overlooked. It looks like a tiny piece of algae. You can see even some eggs attached to the belly of the shrimp. The last shrimp is called whip coral shrimp because of its habitat. The whip coral is also home of these gobies. Nature never stopped to surprise us. This donut nudibranch looks like an alien. name of this nudie is not surprising, fried egg nudie, although it really is prettier than that. The species has both female and male organs, active at the same time. On the left you see a triggerfish ventilating its eggs to provide more oxygen to the embryos. On the right, a ribbon eel is watching him closely, the black color of the body turned blue with age. My buddy found a tiny wonderpuss octopus. It was looking for a place to hide. On our ascent, we came across a group of squids. They move by jet propulsion, sucking water into the mantle cavity and expelling it fast. This dive site is covered with statues and metallic structures that were sunk by local Balinese diving associations. These structures create an artificial reef, which attracts corals and various species of fish that like to nest and hide in such formations. These two boxfish seem to be kissing, but they are actually having a serious fight. About 10 kilometers south of Tulamben, we arrived at Ahmed. On an outrigger boat, we were brought to the dive site. In 2005, 50 pyramids, built out of concrete blocks, were placed at the bottom of a sandy slope, adjacent to an existing reef. We saw leaf fish, some big nudibranches, and a mantis shrimp. turtle was resting and then starting slowly to surface to get some air. Time to visit Mr. Lobster. On the next day, an island trip was due. It was market day in Tulamben and therefore very busy. Our first goal was to visit Bali's famous rice fields. The rice terraces have been here on Bali for at least 2,000 years, and they were originally carved into the hills using hand tools.
This place have the 7 temple, but you only see the first temple.
The Pura Lempuyang Temple is one of the oldest and most sacred temples on the island. It consists of 7 temples. We only visited the first one. The Balinese system of irrigating their rice terraces is known as subak. It is such an important part of Balinese culture that in June 2012, it was awarded UNESCO World Heritage status. The rice farmers work as a unit to create appropriate canals and dams. Our next stop was Taman Tirta Ganga. This water palace serves as a fascinating reminder of the old Bali. Built for the last Raja of Karangasem in 1946, it was almost fully destroyed by the eruption of nearby Mount Agung in 1963, but has subsequently been rebuilt. The Tamang Ujung Water Palace is the sister site of Tirta Ganga, also built by the late Raja of Karangasem, who reigned from 1909 until 1945. It served to welcome visiting dignitaries and kings from neighboring countries, as well as for the pleasure of the king and his royal family. Our last diving adventure led us to Nusa Penida, an island just off mainland Bali. It is famous for manta rays. We were lucky to see them glide over the cleaning stations at Manta Point. This little stingray had a hard time against the strong current. Some of the mantas here have wingspans of more than 3 meters, and all have individually unique patterns on their undersides, which makes identification easy. Thanks for watching. Join us for our next adventures in the Matarari Beach Resort in Pemutaran, Puriyati, and Secret Bay. Soon on YouTube.